Ever get that feeling like something's a little off, in a relationship, but you can't quite put your finger on it?
We're diving deep into those sneaky relationship red flags today.
So
Got it
here for
prepared,
this.
right?
Hey,
And to help us navigate this whole thing, we've got this, well, it's kind of playful, but surprisingly insightful article, 10 Red Flags. Your relationship is a Titanic waiting to sink.
okay.
Don't worry, we're not jumping ship just yet. We've got Short Pause, our expert on communication and relationships, here to help us out. Welcome. What do you think about this whole red flag thing anyway?
It's funny, right? This article, I mean, they use humor, but it's about something real. Every relationship, there are signs, right? But if you learn to spot them early,
Big difference.
exactly.
So first up, communication breakdown. They talk about this whole emoji over words thing. Like, remember when relationships were about like long letters and now it's just a heart eyes emoji?
Yeah,
Kind of funny, but also kind of concerning, no?
it's relatable. Everyone's been there, right?
Yeah.
But a short pause, it is serious too. When communication changes, there's often something deeper going on. Like, remember the honeymoon phase? Every text was like a poem.
Oh, tell me about it.
But life happens. You get busy, routines, and it's easy to just, I don't know.
Yeah, like you go from these deep conversations to just what's for dinner with a laughing emoji.
Exactly. And listen, some change is normal. But if it's all emojis or you're just avoiding real talk, that's a red flag. It's like the article said, would you rather have a bouquet of roses or one sad little daisy?
Okay, point taken. So instead of emojis, instead of avoiding, how do we actually get better at this whole communication thing?
You got to put in the effort. Remember what you loved at the start, their humor, their brain, whatever. Make time for real talk. And, phones away, really listening.
Yeah, it's so easy to just end up on the couch, Netflix on, scrolling, which actually leads us right into red flag number 2, quality time versus phone time. And this one, oh man, this one hits home for me because let's just say I once spent a whole date night accidentally liking like 3-year-old Instagram posts of my ex. Not my finest hour.
We've all been there, right? But it's because our brains are wired for these little dopamine hits from our phones. It's like we're training ourselves to want distraction instead of something real.
And suddenly, sharing a pizza while staring at your phone is quality time. Okay, so how do we break out of that? How do we actually connect?
You have to, make it happen on purpose. No
Uh-huh.
phones allowed dates, hobbies you do together, anything where you have to actually be there with each other.
I've heard of those digital detox vacations, but maybe we need a digital detox date night.
Right.
Speaking of things that fade over time, the article talks about passion fizzling out. They said it's like those cheap fireworks, big boom at the start, then nothing.
It's easy to romanticize the beginning, right?
Yeah.
When passion is, at an all-time high. But, short pause, that fades. It's natural. Doesn't mean the relationship's over, just means you got to put in some effort.
So how do you keep things, exciting? Is it about getting those butterflies back, or is it something else?
It's not really about recreating the same spark, more like finding new sparks. What got you excited at the beginning? What did you connect over? Find those things again, or find new things.
Keep it interesting. Makes sense. Sometimes, though, that lack of excitement, it becomes a different feeling altogether. The next red flag is walking on eggshells. This one really got to me. It's that thing when you can't really be yourself, like disagreements are scary. You see that in your work.
All the time.
Yeah.
And it's way more common than people think. It means there's no emotional safety. People are afraid of conflict. And that's bad, really bad for a relationship. Good relationships, they need honesty, even when it's a disagreement.
How do you tell the difference, though, between a normal disagreement and this eggshells thing? It seems tricky.
That's a good question. Ask yourself, can I say what I need, what I feel, even if it's different from my partner? Or am I holding back all the time, afraid of how they'll react? That's a big sign.
Wow. So being able to be yourself, that's key. And speaking of feeling safe, let's talk about trust, or the lack of it. The article calls it trust issues creeping in. I think we've all seen that, right? A little jealousy maybe, or something bigger.
Oh, absolutely. Trust is like the foundation of a relationship. And yeah, a little jealousy is normal, but if it's suspicion all the time, mistrust.
Yeah.
It'll really hurt.
So much drama, so much anxiety, right? How do you know if trust can be fixed, or if it's, time to move on?
To fix trust, both people have got to really want it. You have to get to the bottom of it, past stuff, insecurities, something that broke the trust in the relationship. It takes being open, understanding each other, and wanting to change.
That's a lot of vulnerability. but I guess if it's worth it. Okay, this next red flag, it's really relevant, I think, as we get older, thinking about the future. I versus we, future plans. Just the language we use is a red flag, they say.
It's about seeing a future together or not seeing it.
Hmm.
When you're building a life with someone, it's not just your own dreams anymore, right? You need to find a path where you both fit, where your hopes for the future work together.
Yeah, making a future you're both excited about, even if it's not what you pictured before. What happens, though, when what you want is just totally different? Or those cute little things from the beginning, they start to bug you.
You got to be really honest with yourself, and you got to be able to talk to your partner honestly. What are your deal breakers? What can you compromise on? Can you be cool with your differences, even learn from them? Or are they just going to cause fights all the time?
So you got to know yourself, know what you need, and then be brave enough to talk about it. Which brings us to, from cute to catastrophic differences. How do you know if a difference is no big deal or if it's a deal breaker?
That's where, looking at yourself honestly and talking to your partner openly is so important. What are your absolute no-goes? What are you okay with being flexible on? And can you actually appreciate those differences? Or are they just constantly causing problems?
It's about being real with yourself and with each other.
Okay, this next red flag, it's relatable, I think, especially as relationships go on. Relationship as chore, not choice. I've felt that, where being together starts to feel like something you have to do, not something you want to do.
Everyone wants that excitement, that spark, right? The thing that makes you want to be close. But as time goes on, you get into routines, you start taking each other for granted. It doesn't mean it's over, but it means you got to make an effort to reconnect.
How do you do that? How do you make it fun again?
Even small things help. A surprise date, doing something you love together when you first met, just having a conversation that isn't about, like, your to-do list.
Yeah.
Relationships need attention, just like anything else you care about. It's so true. We put so much energy into work, into hobbies, even into our plans, but we forget to do it for our relationships sometimes. Speaking of things that can make relationships hard, let's talk about the comparison game. In the age of social media, it's so hard not to compare your relationship to everyone else's seemingly perfect one. It's like everyone else is on vacation or they've got the perfect partner and you're just here. How do you even deal with that? How do you appreciate what you have?
You got to kid yourself, when you're doing that comparing thing. And then stop it. Remember, social media isn't real. It's just the good parts, the edited version. Every relationship, it has good times and bad times, struggles and wins.
It's like comparing what happens behind the scenes to someone's perfect movie, Not even a real comparison. Got to focus on your own path. Which brings us to the last red flag. The moment. That feeling that something's wrong even if you can't explain it.
Like a gut feeling. And yeah, it's easier to ignore it, especially if you're scared of what it means.
Yeah.
But you got to listen to your gut.
Like our intuition's waving its own little red flag trying to get our attention, but this isn't about being negative about relationships.
Not at all. It's about giving yourself the power to choose what's right for you. You go into it with an open heart, but also with your eyes open, knowing there will be bumps along the way.
So as we wrap up our deep dive into relationship red flags, what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
You deserve a good relationship, one that makes you happy, that feels healthy. Don't settle for less, and trust your gut. If you see those red flags, don't ignore them. Talk about them. Be honest, be kind, and make your relationship something you both love.
I love that. You deserve love. It's so important to remember that. And on that note, we'll wrap things up for today. A huge thank you to you for being here. And to everyone listening, thanks for joining us for this deep dive. Remember to keep those conversations going, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.